So we're here for the very first discussion group for orientation in the remote partnering course. So very happy to be here and to see names that are already familiar. I see a number of you have just joined the Scholar community, so thank you for doing that. And we realize different people have different ways of organizing their work. We've already seen a ton of evidence of how committed and enthusiastic and engaged you are with the course already, even though we're actually starting on Monday. So what I want to try to cover here, and I am going to need to close the poll to share my screen, is in fact to yeah to share my screen. So let me just yeah, so we are starting the tutorial session now. Yeah, so the slide deck is in the materials panel. So in GoToTraining, you have this control panel where you found the chat. A little bit above the chat is something called materials, and if you click on the little triangle next to materials, you will find the resources that we've prepared for this session. So and we'll be explaining what these are, but the one you can already use is the slide deck for orientation presentation. So that will be for the presentation a little bit later. All right, only half of you have voted. I think this is a lesson that we need to be careful about the poll, because I know, so let me just share the results here. Let's see what folks are telling us. So 100% created your account in Scholar. Some of you haven't yet joined the remote partnering community in Scholar, and that's actually what I'm going to show you now. And if you have any immediate sort of problems or issues that you want to type in the chat, or you can also raise your hand and tell us what the issue is that you're having. Unmute your microphone, and and then we'll figure it out together. Almost all of you have joined the WhatsApp group. Almost all of you know how to find updates from the course team. So let me give you that one right away. For the person who does not know how to view admins updates from the course team, of course, you have to have completed onboarding. So you have to have created your account in Scholar and joined the remote partnering community. And then this is the magic link, which you'll also find in the materials. But if you can find a way to make sure you keep this link around, it's probably the most important single link in this course, because it is the one that will help you find the latest updates from the course team. So we don't have a course. Some of you may be familiar with other learning platforms where you come in and you see all of the content and all of the curriculum. Scholar's a bit different. Every day there's something new, and we do tell you ahead of time what the schedule and structure are like, but the actual meat of what you get to do as learners is in these updates that you will find using this link. So I hope that already is helpful to you. Now let me hide the results of the poll, and for the person who's lost and confused, please get in touch with Hannah. So I think many of you have already met him, and let me share his WhatsApp as well as his. So Hannah, let me put it this way, lost or confused, call Hannah. You can also, so call him on WhatsApp or send him a message. And then his email is hannahkade@learning.foundation. All right. Yes, indeed, Mohammed, you're having the remote partnering challenge, technology, internet communication being challenging. So can you now confirm that you can see my screen? And before, yeah. So, okay, thank you, Anoop. Anybody else? It's also a way of just, confirming that there are human beings, yes, who are not off to check their emails, or well, we're trying to connect. Thank you, Mark, Perisami, Yaman Salam, Sarimutia Timur, Magloire Vale. Okay, great. So let me actually go back to the beginning. Is there anybody here who would like to see, so let me just go to the onboarding page. Is there anybody here who would like to see to actually see me go through the steps to prepare for the course? So how to create your account in Scholar, how to then join the community, how to just register for GoToTraining if you're here, you've done that. If so, please type yes, please in the chat. Okay, been there, done that, Anupia. Okay. All right. So the first reason that people get lost or mostly lost in this case, is if they are unable to recall the username, the email, or password that they use to log into Scholar. And actually, I'm going to log in using the tutorial account, so I'll be seeing the same things that you see as learners. So this is very important. For example, one person had used their Gmail account to register, but was trying to log in using their organization, their work email. So obviously that wasn't working out. It usually takes us about 3 minutes to fix a problem with sign in. And Hannah is really the best at doing that. So that's why I've shared his email. So once you sign in, what happens? So usually you see the place where you were last, but I would suggest going through the following steps. So click on community, and that will take you to your personal profile. So you are at the center of the communities that you are a part of. That's why you see your personal profile. This is my personal, or the tutorial profile with my profile picture on it, which I've added to record that tutorial that some of you may have seen about adding your profile picture. And so what do I see in the activity stream? I see the communities that I'm a part of. And I see in the middle column everything that's happening across all of the communities that I'm a part of. All right. So I was thinking, whoops. It might be useful. Some of you may be familiar with the Kaya platform, and just to do a quick comparison, to see how it's different. This is Kaya is based on Moodle. There are many platforms like this from UNHCR, from UNICEF, that use Moodle. And the first thing you see when you log into Kaya is your recent learning, and then you have content, so you can browse all the courses. This is very different from what you see when you log into Scholar. You are, as a learner, and are at the center, and it's not the content or the courses that you see, it's actually what is going on, what is happening, what are people doing. That's why we call it the activity stream. Now, what you want to do here is to actually go to the remote partnering community, and it's only when you see this blue bar that says remote partnering community that you are now in the correct place to post comments, updates, get work done for the course. Now, this is a community place. Starting on Monday, you'll be discovering a second, sort of piece of space in Scholar called Creator. And Creator is a private space. No one else, no other participants will be able to see what you're doing there, where you will be developing your remote partnering plan. So for now, you can ignore Creator, and of course, you'll get little video tutorials that are worth watching. We see really night and day difference between people who watch the tutorials. There are tips and tricks that you will learn in 2 minutes that can save you literally hours of work and pain and trials and tribulations and pulling your hair out. All right. So here under the, yes, you have something that's very similar to your personal profile, same 3 columns, only now you're not looking at what's happening for you, you're looking at what's happening for your community. All right. And so you can see in the activity stream here, there's tons of things happening right now. It's a lot of people joining in the community. Let's see if Maria Adelma Montejo is here. Yes, all right, you've just joined the community. Jean-Pierre, where are you, Jean-Pierre? Okay, you're here as well. Vincent, okay, great. So by looking at the activity stream like this, this is not the most useful view, but this is the one you'll see by default. You can get a sense for what's happened since the last time you checked in. So this is reverse chronological order. You'll see all of the things. Just to say hi to Barbara, she is a Scholar Apprentice. So she's a graduate of the Scholar Apprenticeship Program, and I asked her to pitch into sort of bringing in the reinforcements. She's a brilliant facilitator and a scholar wizard. So she's just, you'll be meeting her in the coming weeks or coming days and weeks. What else is happening? More people joining the community. And then you can see here that I posted an update for orientation day 3. As I said, this is not the most useful view. I do want to show you one of the things you can do is when you've read something or when you've completed, you're done with the orientation day 3 update, click on the little star. That's yes, and then you'll know you've sort of been there, done that. Okay, so that's one of the ways, one of the things that you can do. So now I'm going to show you how I got to this link that what I call the magic link, and we'll do it the hard way, and then I'll show you the easy way to do it, which is to go to updates. So that's here, okay? What we want to do is, you may say, well, that's too much stuff. There's too much going on. How do I actually find out what I need to do? What are my tasks? What is the coursework? What is the assignment? What do I need to do next? So this is the way to do it. You go to updates, and then you can see here, it's filter updates. And then here again, it's from admins. So admins, administrators, the course team, and boom, now you see only in the central column in the activity stream, you're not seeing all of the people joining the course, you're not seeing all of the people commenting on updates, you're seeing only the updates from the course team. Now, one of the things, because as you'll be looking at the work of your peers, I can tell you, and we'll show you how to do this in week 2 of the course, you can also look at stuff from fellow participants when you don't want to be looking at stuff from the course team. But the most important one in terms of getting things done is that view from admins. Now, one of the things, if you're just looking at the activity stream, remember it said filter updates here, and here it says filter activity. So if you're in this view, you won't be able to select updates from admins. So you need to go first through that. And if this seems tedious, just and it certainly does to me, I would hate to have to go through these 3 steps every time. Just copy and bookmark this link. If you don't know how to bookmark a link in your browser, if when you want to go somewhere on the web, you do a Google search and then go there. Just Google search how to create a bookmark. That alone will save you seconds, minutes, hours in all your work on the web. And what I've actually done, which is a suggestion, is created a bookmark folder, my personal learning environment for this course, in which I keep all of the links that I regularly go to for this course. And this is something that's not dependent on Scholar or any particular technology other than your browser. So if you've got a browser, you can do this. You can some educators give it a fancy name, call it a PLE, a personal learning environment. It's just a list of links of places where you go to regularly. And the first thing I have at the very top is the admin updates. All right. So we're about 15 minutes away from starting. I've been yapping away for 15 minutes. I want to make a pause here, and I see that Elizabeth and Patricia have their hands raised. I don't know who raised their hand first. Let me just go to an alphabetical order. Elizabeth, welcome. How are you doing?
You have an extra spoon.
Hello, Elizabeth. We can hear you because I have unmuted you. Okay. And you've just muted yourself. All right, let's go to Patricia. And Patricia, I'm really pleased to see you because I know that you had some challenges connecting. So you'll need to unmute yourself. There's sort of a two-step process where either Catherine or I unmute you. Yeah, go ahead, Patricia.
Hi, Reda.
Yes, I can hear. Wonderful. I can hear you very faintly. Is there a way for you to speak up or raise the level of your microphone?
Oh, hi, Reda.
Yes, hi. Receiving you loud and clear. Very good to hear your voice.
Yes, I'm also following up since you started, and I'm hearing you very clearly.
Wonderful.
It's only that I cannot. I'm lost where to type if I have anything to respond.
Okay, so that's a good question. So you should see do you see something called the Go To Training control panel? It's either on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of your screen. So I'm typing hello Patricia and sending you a private message. So you should see something sort of bounce up or get some kind of notification that.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you see hello Patricia anywhere?
Able to see. I'm using a cell phone.
Oh, you're using a cell phone. Okay, so there's, and do
My
you see any?
mobiles too.
Yeah. Do you see anything called chat? C-H-A-T.
Chat. On the same screen.
Yes. So if you're in the app, if you're in the GoToTraining application on your phone, can you tell me what the items, what the possibilities are? What do you have in front of you?
I just have the screen. Yeah, I have seen it. Chat. Yes, this one.
Okay. So if you click there, yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna. And do you see something that says "Hello, Patricia"? Because I've just typed that into the chat. All right. Is there somebody else in the group who is using GoToTraining from their phone? If so, please raise your hand and I'll unmute you so you can explain to Patricia how to view the chat from a phone. Because I'm connected from a desktop computer, so I'm not sure exactly how to go about it. Anybody wants to raise their hand to help Patricia? All right. All right, Patricia. My suggestion is to keep trying. It's the first time, so some of these features on these apps, they change. Usually there's a chat button or panel,
Okay.
and then when you click on that, you should see the latest messages from Regina, Anoop, Robin, Magloire, as well as a message from me that says hello Patricia. And underneath the messages from other people, you should see a little window that says type message here, where you can send your own message.
Okay, is it possible for me to change from this cell phone and desktop since we haven't started the session?
Absolutely,
I
you
just
can
want
go to
to
your
change.
yeah, you can go to your desktop computer and
Yes, yes, and see.
log in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. See you in a minute then. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's hear from Jade. And I'm not sure if I'm
Hi
pronouncing
there.
it properly. Yes. Hi.
Can you hear me? Excellent. I had a quick question. Excellent. I had a quick question which might be relevant to others as well. I'm wondering where we can set the settings for the notifications from Scholar, the email notifications, because I've had a torrent of emails for the updates on the course feed.
That's a very good question. We'll be sharing a tutorial on how to do that on Friday because we figure yes. So Scholars notifications are interesting. They're a fire hose. You either get everything every time someone does something in our course, a comment or an update, you receive a notification, or you get nothing. So you can turn them off. We don't show you right away because so if you go under account settings, okay, and this is where it should say logged in as your name. And wait, I have to, yeah. Okay, Google, stop. And if anybody else has a Google Home, I apologize for that, but I had to turn off an alarm. So under account settings, you will find at the very bottom the email settings. So here you can choose to email me about messages sent to me in Scholar. You probably want to keep that on, but if you're being flooded with too many emails, just turn them off. And then it's really for it will require a little bit more discipline and diligence from your part to actually go in and check in to see what is happening in Scholar. Yes. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
All right, we've got 9 minutes left. Let me see. We've got Mohammed, Amar, welcome. And if you also need to unmute yourself, so to click on the microphone button, it's red, and if you click on it, it'll turn green. Mohammed, yeah. Okay, and
Hello.
Yes, hi, Mohammed.
Hi. Sorry, it's the same question that my colleague raised actually, but if you can repeat it again, I mean the notification issue, please.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So again, when you're logged into your accounts here, you have the help and cart, and here you have the account settings. All right. And it's under these account settings that you will find the email settings. And there you can turn off the community activity is the one that generates the flood that yes you may find overwhelming. Now, part of the thinking is that if you, depending on your digital literacy, you can set up filters for these community notifications so that you only see the ones you want to see in the inbox. Scholar gives you a lot of flexibility there and doesn't doesn't sort of ration things for you, but it can feel overwhelming, just especially in the first week. What? Okay, you're very welcome, Mohammed. And Robin says, in terms of cafe conversations, I made contact with the person who was recommended to me, but didn't hear from the person who was supposed to contact me. Is this a problem? Is it possible to follow up with this person? We'll get to that. We'll have, and we'll be asking you to share, but briefly, no, you cannot be held responsible for what your peer has failed to do. But this is really one of the key messages that I'm hoping to hammer in, and that Catherine will say in far gentler, kinder ways, is that your colleagues are going to be dependent on you. So if if you're swamped with work, you've got too many things to do, you don't get to your tasks, it's possible that it's likely that you're going to be leaving somebody else in the course wanting. So when you think about your priorities and when you schedule your time, do consider that, like Robin, what can happen and what's likely to happen if you do not honor the commitment you're making to other participants in the course. So we've got about 7 minutes. I want to go back to the community and show you some more of the features and things that you can. So we're on orientation day 3. So orientation day 4 will come after the discussion group a bit later today. So just to review what you can scroll all the way to the bottom and start there. So for example, if you just did onboarding today, what I would suggest doing is start at the bottom and work your way up. So go into the collaboration guidelines, and make sure you understand the kinds of the kind of agreement we have with respect to what we expect from you and what we'll be trying to honor as well. And then this is about the randomized coffee trials. So if you're unclear about what that is, you can go in and find out more there. We have gotten some really interesting, very interesting responses, which we'll be getting to in the 30-minute session starting in 5 minutes. The pre-course information session, if that was on the 1st of February, if you missed that, I would encourage you to look at it. We've tried not to duplicate in today's presentation, but there's some important information about the course. And again, we try to keep everything short and to the point, all right? And if we fail to do that, let us know, but we really try. That's why the discussion group, the mandatory part, is 30 minutes. We're aware that time is the most precious resource, and that's, and we'll be really working hard to respect that. So orientation day 1, and this will give you a sense of what the different, each update from the course team has the same kind of format. You right away know how many tasks you have to complete. Now, in some cases, 7 tasks may sound like a lot, but actually some of them are just read a couple of lines of text or do something simple that will take a few minutes. And starting with orientation day 2, we've actually added the sort of estimated amount of time. And you can see that each update shouldn't take you more than 30 minutes. So that's really how we try to chunk it, to break it down so that, if you set aside 30 minutes a day, some quiet time where your colleagues or your family are less likely to disturb you, you should be able to follow along day by day. Now, it's fine also to be saying, well, actually, I can't do that. I'd rather catch up at some point in the week, in the evening, and do more than one orientation, more than one update, and several tasks at the same time. So going back to the activity stream and working my way up, here I can see orientation day 2. So a typical update, this one has 3 tasks, and so the first task is expected to take you around 10 minutes, then 5 minutes, then 5 minutes. So did you have 20 minutes? Could you have found 20 minutes somewhere on Tuesday, which is when we push this out? If the answer is no, I would have a serious concern as to how you will be able to find time to make time for the course starting in week 1, where we'll be proceeding in the same manner. Now, if you didn't do it on Tuesday, but you did it on Thursday, that's fine. Within the week, you're free to organize your work in any way that you see fit. But we tend to find what scholars report is that checking in, once a day, if you don't have any access issues or bandwidth issues preventing you from doing that, that tends to be a way that people have consistently found to be useful to go forward. So here, for example, you have a 43-second message from Roz. Here a 2-minute message, and these are short, but you'll find, I hope, as I did, that the members of the course team have the ability to sort of condense a lot of really meaty stuff to think about. We're hoping you'll take what Roz says and think about what it might mean for your remote partnering work. And in fact, you'll see many of these updates will ask you to comment. And so this is different from the community assignments, which you'll be learning about on Monday. But comment means just going to the comment box and actually answering the questions. Now you can also comment on anything else. You say, well, I'm not responding to the prompt, but here's what I think is important, what I want to share. We don't want to constrain you in any way. I think there's actually an example of that further. One of the first people to comment, where the person said, I'm really happy to be here. And so I answered, okay, well, you're very welcome. Warm welcome to you. We did ask you to comment on a specific question or to respond to a specific question. So again, you can work your way down, adding your photo to your personal profile. Think about it. It may seem a bit, you may wonder, well, I don't have time for that. But it's a great way of showing that there is in fact someone made of flesh and blood across distance. It's the only way we know what, I can see the list of your names, but that's about all I can see. All right, so I'm going to stop here with the tutorial. I hope it's been useful in some small way, for at least some of you. It seems that many of you are just right on top of things and probably did not need this and may have found it a bit tedious. And a lot of what I've shown here, you will actually find in the recorded video tutorials. But we know in some cases, actually knowing that there's somebody live on the other end of the line, changes how attentive we are, how, and sort of makes it a bit easier to follow along. So I see from Mohammed that his connection is really bad and the line keeps breaking up. I'm sorry to hear that. Again, the recording will be available. So especially if you have an issue. So a warm welcome from Catherine and myself for today's discussion group. We're now starting we're calling the mandatory session, but yes, the sort of the middle session, if you will. Just want to share this reminder of so the organizations from which many of you are affiliated, who've made this course possible. And again, to try to make explicit, it's kind of, we struggled sort of I struggled figuring out how to present this as clearly as possible. So 30 minutes before the session, we do what many of you just sat through, which is a technical support. Then we have this session we're going through now, which will have pretty much the same structure. So a quick update, checklist on what's happening in the course, feedback, because at the end of this week and at the end of every week, we'll be asking you, how we are doing, and then participant presentations. And then we have actually quite a good, sort of inaugural workshop with a really interesting case and problem submitted by a participant. And we're going to sort of workshop that case using a structured, a series of rounds. What I hope will be sort of a lively, methodology, so we're not just droning on. So that's the meeting structure. And we're now in that middle segment. This is the discussion group agreement that we'd like to propose. And if you could type the city and country, and optionally the organization that you're connecting from into the chat window. So I'm hoping everyone has found the chat window by now. So it's a little item in the GoToTraining control panel if you're on a laptop or desktop computer. And if you could go to that chat window and type the city and country that you're connecting from. Yeah. Okay, so Anoop from ACT Alliance Bangkok, Natasha Carr from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Geneva, London, Nairobi, London, 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 Abidjan, Nairobi, Istanbul, Cavite, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, I apologize. London, Oxfam in the UK, Philippines, Iligan City, Cox's Bazar, The Hague, France, Myanmar, Jean-Pierre Makumu. Is from Kigali, Rwanda. Okay, wow. Okay, just think about it, having this many people connected from so many different places. And as we all do international work, this is what the reality that we operate in. So quite a packed agenda for today. So the orientation checklist, we're going to ask you a poll about orientation, a little bit of feedback, then a quick update on the course, and then this is probably the only presentation, the only discussion group in which we'll be talking this much for this 30-minute segment. Each discussion group is going to be organized around presentations that you will make about a particular aspect of your remote partnering plan, with your colleagues, your peers, giving you feedback, sharing their advice, expertise, insights, experience, and we, of course, the course team will be there to share the feedback and facilitate the discussion. That's really how these discussion groups are going to work, and that's the participatory peer learning methodology. So, what should you have done by now? You should have completed onboarding. You should download the remote partnering workbook. That's actually, if you've completed all the steps of onboarding, the endpoint, you end up in the Shares in Scholar and can download the workbook. You should have gotten into the habit. You figure out your own routine, what works best for you, but there are daily tasks. You don't have to do them on the day, but you do have to do them within the week, and you need to know how to view the updates from the course team. The WhatsApp group, it seems like there's a couple of people who would like the, we're sort of trying to find the balance, how much informality and how much should we really stick to just course-related stuff. And we're eager to hear. I think that's actually an issue that we're going to be confronted with in remote partnering. So any thoughts you have on that, would be much appreciated. And then to start actually thinking about your remote partnering plan. So let's pause and see what is with a little poll. And you can only pick one. So I realize they may have all been useful, but do pick what's been most useful to you during orientation. All right, 100%. Okay. So, really interesting. Okay, 28% have voted. Come on, it's just clicking on the box, and then I'll share the poll results. Everyone can participate. It's anonymous. It's and this is just a quick way of getting a feel for what you're telling us. Okay, 65% have voted. So there's still a few people who haven't clicked the box and clicked on submit. Please do that as soon as you can. 75. Right. I understand you may need to think about it, especially because you can only choose one, but yes, 81%. So there's still, there's still like 10 people who haven't clicked on the box. All right, because we have a lot to get through, I'm gonna give you about another 10 seconds. All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. If you're shy, nobody's going to know that you didn't vote, but on the other hand, if you do vote.
Reda, hi,
Yes.
it's Catherine here. I was just thinking there might be some people on their telephones as well, and I know Barbara said she's in the car, so she's listening on the car, so there'll be a few people missing from that.
Sure, that's a good point. Yeah. Fair enough. All right, so let's look at the results. So 2/3 of you found that what's been most useful are the email messages from the course team. WhatsApp messages 20%, almost nobody just has paid attention to Facebook Live. Other course participants, that's interesting. So hopefully, presumably, colleagues from the course, but we'll be hearing about the remote coffee trials. So great, thank you. That's wonderful. And let me just take a screenshot of that so we can share that in the update we'll be posting later. So you should now be able to see my screen again. And again, this is just hammering in the same message. This is a quote from another scholar from another course saying, and if you're finding your experience to resemble this one, the good news is that this person was tremendously successful in the scholar course. And yes, we do have webcams turned on, so if you want to see each other. If anybody has a bandwidth issue that makes this a problem, we'll force everyone to turn their webcams off. All right. So now I want to tell you, focus really on what's going to happen next week. We're almost through this week, and I hope it's clear by now how it works. There's a daily update. The update contains tasks, what you need to get done. And then once you've done the tasks, you're free to enjoy the community, go read other people's contributions. And there's some fascinating stuff that's already been posted just in the first couple of days. And even though we don't have everybody on board yet, some people are still working through the onboarding. Just a reminder of the certification requirements. So here we have the community assignments. The first one will be posted on Monday. And then the main focus, which I'm going to explain next, is on the course project, which is the remote partnering plan. So again, you've been working in the community so far, and basically, like a Facebook wall, a discussion group. We're all familiar, I think, but with this kind of a metaphor in terms of how we interact online. The space that's going to be a little different, even if you have a lot of online learning experience, is Creator. So that's going to be this private space for project development, for peer review, and you'll be doing very structured feedback using what we call a rubric. And we're going to be explaining that in the video tutorials, in the discussion group, and in the various ways in which we're offering to support you. So schedule overview, you have already this schedule, but here's the scary red slide that I want to put in front of you. And that's the main deadlines. So it is the 2nd of March is coming up very soon, and within those 2 weeks, and we realize it's a short time, you're going to be learning about remote partnering and what and how to develop a remote partnering plan by doing it. All right. And we're going to help you. It's going to be obviously a guided process. We'll have videos, explainers, lots of supporting materials. You already have the remote partnering workbook. That's a key resource to help you think through your remote partnering plan, but it's going to be due on the 2nd of March. 1 week later, you're going to have completed your 3 peer reviews. And 1 week after that, you're going to have revised and improved your remote partnering plan. So that at the bottom, you can see, we know with adult learners, it's extremely challenging to sort of carve out time for coursework. We'd like to urge you to get started as soon as you can. Do not do what most of us do as adult learners, myself included, which is wait and let time slip by until the deadline seems so close that I need to start paying attention to it. That typically does not work because of the thinking and reflection that's involved in the work that you're going to be doing. So it's not going to be taking a quiz or filling out a form. It's actually developing something that's meaningful in your context, and that's how we're going to be entering week 1. So, and you'll see in the slide deck that you can download from the materials section and go to training control panel that we'll also put in the shares and Scholar. You can see the full 4 weeks. I'm just going to review the first week. So on Monday, there'll be another sort of big update with tasks to start on 2 things. In the community, you'll have the week 1 community assignment, which we're very excited about. You'll be asked to set the scene for your remote partnering work, and you'll be asked to do it in a way of your choosing that really sort of exemplifies the creativity, the sort of willingness to try something new. Now, just there are some sort of safer fallbacks, but we're really hoping that you'll find sort of you really use your creativity to present yourself and your remote partnering work to others in the course. And we'll have what we're calling voices of remote partnership. So people who are already active in the Remote Partnership Projects Network, who will be sharing their presentations to sort of model the kinds of possibilities that you can do. But and then alongside the week 1 community assignment, you'll actually be starting in Creator on your main project. And in fact, what you do in the week 1 community assignment, you can consider that it's going to be part of your project. So it does overlap nicely, so that the work you do in the community will actually help you progress with your main project in the course. So you can look at the other 3 weeks to get a sense of what's coming. But I now want to turn it over to Catherine. So Catherine, I'm going to make you the presenter, and you will see a prompt to share your screen. And then, yep, great. And
Great.
you'll need to
see my screen.
Yes, indeed.
Great. So, hi everyone. I'm Catherine, and I'm also one of the course organizers, and really pleased that so many of you have been able to attend today. This is fantastic. So one of the things, particularly as we start the course, is we want to make sure that you get as much support as you need. And we do not want to let the technology be the one thing that makes you nervous or hampers you from really being able to enjoy this whole new experience of being online and a whole new approach to working online. So to that end, for those of you who would like some extra support, Reda and I are going to make ourselves available for a few sessions. So whoever wants to get some half an hour support one-to-one to discuss your remote partnering plan, or just get hands-on support, or just some help to be orientated better, we've got a few slots left, or not a few slots left, we've given up some slots to help anybody who really needs it. And Reda's availability is listed here on the slide, and you can actually use the link to schedule. So there'll be some available times, and if it matches with what you're available, then you can book one. And I've also got some availability next week on 2 days, and I've got 4 slots available. So if you want one of those, just go onto the doodle.com poll and book a time with me, and then we can have some one-to-one time. So we also want to say that you are responsible for your own learning, but that doesn't mean that you can't reach out to anybody else, and it doesn't mean that your peers can't help you and that we can't help you. So we don't really want you suffering in silence, even if it's things that we've covered before. There's lots of videos and support on the community site that you can always go back and refer to if you feel that you missed some of the early steps and they're tripping you up now. But if you make it a habit of just in the morning when you get up, go to the internet, get onto your update site and just see what's happening, see where you should be, and then you can gauge, okay, am I on top of things? Am I where I need to be? If you fall behind, that's not a worry either. We know that particularly the variety of countries that you're working in, the context that you're working in, lots of us working in emergencies and humanitarian contexts, you can fall behind. Emergencies happen, and so we recognize that. So just contact us as soon as possible. If you know that there's going to be a problem, just let us know, and the email is there to contact us. So we also have some collaboration guidelines, and we ask you to follow the principles outlined. And oops, sorry, lost my screen there. So and also, just when you're in the Creator Project, this week is not where you're going to be in the Creator Project, but when we actually start to work on our projects, we really want to ask that you listen and read with empathy and intention. People are going to be, you know, pouring their work out to us and each other for feedback, and it's really going to be important that we value what people contribute to. And so to be respectful, to those who hold different opinions to ourselves. And that is usually one of the key things around working in partnerships and remotely, is that we do have to manage a lot of differences. And that is often a challenge. But to remember that we will hear lots of different opinions, and that if we put ourselves into the shoes of someone else, we may find that we're understanding where they're coming from much more. So we also say that you'll explore different types and levels of experiences, and then working with others as you would like to work with them. And so we have a specific period where you'll be giving and receiving feedback. And so we ask that we're sensitive to each other. And we may not agree, or we may not think the work is up to scratch, but we have to recognize that we're all at different levels. And then maintaining confidentiality. For our partnerships, there may be some things that we're divulging in the partnerships that are really key to that partnership, and we're divulging them for the purpose of this course. So we want to be recognizing that it's important to keep confidentiality and to respect the sensitivities of the circumstances that people might be working in. And also, it's a learning opportunity, and it's designed primarily, whoops, don't know why I keep losing my slides, sorry about that. And it's designed to really widen the boundaries and to challenge assumptions. So this is in the very unlikely event that you share or submit your assignment with other people's work without acknowledging, or you breach confidentiality by sharing the work outside of the course community, we may have to ask you to withdraw from the course. We know that's very unlikely to happen, but we do need to mention it in the odd occasion that it could happen. So we've really covered quite a bit. If you attended the session before the webinar started, you'll know that we really strongly suggest keeping up with the course, and everything is chunked so that it can be completed in 30-minute sessions. And we just encourage you to complete each activity on a day-by-day basis, and then you'll be really sailing through this program. So what you can do is you can decide for yourself how you want to do it and when you want to do it. But the moment you've set a pace for yourself, you'll know that it's actually really manageable. And again, if you're falling behind, please get in touch with us. It's not a problem if we catch it early. So what to do if you feel overwhelmed? And I'll be completely honest, the first time I came on this platform, I had no idea how the system worked, how to get on. I had my login problems. It was a major palaver, but I persisted. And once I came through the other side, it became second nature. So the more you actually continue to do the instructions, the guidance, and putting the bookmarks on those sections, you'll find you're not even thinking about it. In a week from now, you will not feel overwhelmed. So we really just recommend prioritizing the updates. Everything is really clearly laid out. And as Retta in the earlier section outlined, there's a way of filtering the updates to make sure you're just getting the updates for what you need to do. And so each day you'll get an update posted, you follow that, and you should be fine. We also wanted to ensure that for your support, the remote partnering workbook should be used as a support, because when you're developing your plans, there's tons of ideas in there and tons of approaches and tools that you can actually call on to start thinking about your work plan. We don't necessarily want you to just go to the workbook and look for things to put in your plan, because we're looking for new ideas. This is a whole new area that's developing. So we're really looking for your creativity. We're looking for maybe applying one of the approaches, but changing it for your context, because a lot of the things that are suggested may work in one environment, but clearly not in another. So it's really, for us, the diversity of people that we have on this course is what makes this course exciting, because we'll be able to debate things that work in one context don't necessarily work in another. So please use it as, you know, a prompt or inspiration, but don't use it as a Bible, because it isn't a Bible. It's really a starter for your own ideas. So I hope that you'll come to it and add to it so that we can keep building our database of ideas and creative approaches. So back to you, Retta. Retta?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'm here. No worries.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and without wanting to be caricatural, you'll be hearing from me hammering about deadlines and schedule and structure and all the things you need to do. And fortunately, yes, yeah, Catherine has a far kinder and gentler way of yes, presenting a really important dimension of the course, which is that we're committed to your success and to supporting you in every way that that we can. So one of the pre-course activities that we launched almost a week ago was what we're calling the remote coffee trials. So, loosely based or inspired by the randomized coffee trials that have been tried in various quarters. And Kath, would you like to share? Yeah, so we want to think there's, I think, almost more than 20 people who have reported back on how their trial has gone. Catherine has selected sort of excerpts, and do you want to say a word about what's in there? What have you found reading the narratives of how these trials have gone for various people in the course?
Sure. So I was really, I was just pleased at how well, for those that actually managed to connect, and feel sorry for those that actually didn't get connected by a person, or for whatever reason it didn't happen. But for those that it did work for, we got fantastic responses in terms of the connections they were able to make, the assumptions they were able to address. It brought the course to life for people. They heard about other people's experiences and challenges, and in some ways it really humanized the course, because you're being prompted by a whole variety of emails and WhatsApp groups and what have you, and suddenly you're actually talking to a human being on the other side. So it really made a massive difference in terms of the connection and I think we underrate the informal contacts and how much more information we can get from people. And I think it does reflect well on partnerships as a whole, that the informal space we can create, the coffee trials that we might try with our own partnerships, it's amazing what you'll be able to do, just even in terms of helping to build trust with your members in your partnership. But also, one idea that we had was, in a partnership, we created a coffee where in the middle of the meeting, we stop for 10 minutes, because often you have breaks, but instead of people all going away and doing their own thing, we ask people to come back and have coffee as a group, and just chat in the chat box and leave the microphone open, and people just chatted with each other. And we saw that it made a huge difference to the bonding of the group. So these are just some of the ways in which we start to recognize the informalities actually really make a big difference.
So thank you, Catherine. So, with 75 people, actually close to 80 now in the course, with these, by matching each person in the course with somebody else, we had 150 potential conversations happening. So we'd like to ask you to share your experience, and we have 6 minutes remaining to do that. So we're going to be able to hear from 3 people. So the way it works is that we're first going to ask for volunteers, and then we'll simply call on call on you should there be no volunteers. So we know it's difficult. It's the first time. You may not be familiar with the medium, so we're very, very in tune to the challenges of. But I see that Sumaru Tripathi has raised his hand. Thank you, Sumaru, for saving me from. Sumaru, welcome. I'm going to meet the group discussion timer. Do you understand what the purpose is? So you are going to be given 2 minutes. You will be timed to address the questions that you see on the screen.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Yeah.
Starting the
I
timer
was paired with. I was paired with Rene Fakwadilla from Philippines, and when I start conversations with her, at first I thought that she's some male, and later I realized that she's female, and we had very good conversations between us, and regularly we are chatting and sharing about the problems regarding the partnership. Remote partnering is a challenge, as we discussed, because there is the system and there is the trend that INGOs are treating NGOs differently as a recipient, and INGOs are donors and NGOs are the recipients. That's how they are treated, and NGOs are really obliged to complete the tasks within the time frame, and then there is no real partnership between NGOs and INGOs, and that can be improved through capacity building and other things like beyond the project contract relationship and time-bound relationship. That's how we can develop our relationship. That sort of communications we had between this week. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sumaru. Very concise. With 35 seconds left on the clock, let's go to Shamnaz. Ahmed, Shamnaz, welcome. And can you confirm?
Yeah, so I was introduced to Jeremiah, who wrote me an email, and I was really impressed with the idea of remote coffee. And so we came to know with each other that he works for a search team and how that search team operates during crisis situation. But also I was sharing that I was working on local humanitarian leadership, where I also work on remote partnering. I'm based in Dhaka. My organization is to work in different parts of the country. So this was the challenges we were sharing, that how do we do partnering during an emergency response, and how do we strengthen the capacity so that they can continue and add value. So this is the discussion that that also gave me an idea about how does the search team also works. So, and how we can bring that idea of search team into Bangladesh.
Okay. It sounds like you're typing. I don't know if that's you or yeah.
I'm not typing.
Okay, yeah. So Shamnaz, can you you have 45 seconds left. How do you think your experience of this informal chat with a colleague, does it relate to your remote partnering at all? What did you gain from the experience?
Yes. So it was more important to understand how the search team works of Save the Children. I work for Oxfam, so how does Save the Children deals with partnership? That was one important thing that they discussed with the partners. We also discussed with partners, but in a different way. So that was more important for me, to know another organization's perspective of partnership. We had very little chat, but that's all for now.
Great. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Shamnaz. So we only have time for one. Actually, we're out of time. So what I'd like to say is, if you did not get, because I see that both Gordon and Patricia had also volunteered. So we keep these live sessions where everybody has to be there at the same time to get short. But remember, you can go to Scholar, and we've actually asked you to share your experience there too. And in fact, you can see the link to file your report. You'll also find it in the materials. And we'll be sharing the output of that. So all of the reports, there are already more than 20. We'll be sharing them back with you, so you can look at what other people's experience was through these remote coffee trials. One more thing is, some folks have said, well, will I be staying in touch with this person throughout the course? We had thought of it as a one-time thing, but if you found it interesting and useful for you to be in touch with another participant, and somebody who's not from your organization, and somebody you can learn and share with, you're very much encouraged to stay in touch. And we'd like you, if you do that, it's because you found it meaningful and relevant in some way for yourself. So what, I have a problem. Yeah, okay, fix the problem. All right, so what's going to happen when we kick off on Monday? You can see a recap here. I'm not going to go through the list. You can look, because we're out of time. And we do have the next 30 minutes, which is going to be the workshop, which is which we're very excited about. So do look in the, I just want to point you in the slide deck. There are some data points, really interesting stuff from the participant profiles. You took the time to fill out your profile, so we've shared back. That's the least we can do. We've shared back some of the information you told us, so sort of collectively, and it hopefully will give you a sense of who is in the group and what that looks like. So here's what you can expect on Monday. Remember, there are 2 more daily updates this week coming. Again, they're going to be short, very short tasks, but get ready for Monday. Do make sure you have time in your schedule, in your calendar, to actually get down to the business of the course of the as we kick off, and there's going to be quite a lot happening. So that's it for the 32-minute session. I apologize for going overtime. If you need to go because you're short on time and you have urgent work waiting for you, you're now done with the required attendance. You're free to go, but I'm hoping that you're going to stay, because it'd be sad if you missed this challenge workshop. So we asked you if you could think of a real-world partnering challenge, dilemma, problem that you're facing in your work. And again, rather than, even though the remote partnering project has done a lot of research, a lot of analysis, we wanted to hear from you first. What are you facing up to? And we're actually thinking we'll do this every Thursday. And every Thursday we'll pick one challenge and we'll work on it. And we're inviting everyone in the course to join as well, to help us work on it with the person who is facing the challenge. Of course, there are many common challenges. Now, we do need specific contextual challenges. So there are sort of abstract issues that are really interesting, but we need you to sort of spell out what what is the problem, who are the stakeholders, how it's, what are the, the exact context that you're in. We have a very specific structure for this. So, we'd like to hear first from the problem owner. And you can see, we've got very short timings for the rest of this. And so I'm pleased to just share, this is his profile picture in Scholar, Sumaru Tripathi, who we also heard from in the participant presentation. And he shared a really interesting problem or challenge that he's facing. It's got multiple dimensions. I think with Catherine, we kind of thought we would zero in on 1 or 2 because of the format for this. And so this is what Sumaru told us about his remote partnering context. Because he's here with us, I'm going to invite him to, I'm going to unmute his microphone. And Sumaru, in line with our proposed structure, we'd like to hear from you briefly. What is the problem that you're facing? What is the remote partnering challenge? And meanwhile, participants can also read it here.
Yeah. Namaste, everyone. Actually, I'm here in Nepal for working with Oxfam in Nepal since July 2015, the 2015 earthquake. Then after, I'm responsible for humanitarian capacity building work, like humanitarian preparedness and response plannings. And I'm dealing with nearly 47 local NGOs are just managing the sub-grant. They are just managing the sub-grant. We have a partnership agreement until there is some budget and project activities. And when the project activities and budget finished, then our partnership is finished. And in Oxfam partnership strategy, as well as global Oxfam partnership strategy and Nepal's Oxfam partnership, there are 3 provisions of partnership. One is strategic partnerships, another one is project-based partnership, and the next one is, third one is network and alliance-based partnership. And strategic partnership is quite a dynamic one, and it is quite a transformational one. But Oxfam in Nepal and globally, we are not catching these things because we are just oriented towards project-based partnership. When the project is finished, our partnership is finished, and that's how we are dealing with our partners. And in the context of Nepal, we are just dealing with 47 partners, around 23 districts, they are quite a scattered one, and we have been following them through distance, by using emails, WhatsApp, Facebook, and other means of communications we are dealing with. But parallelly, we are also doing assessment and other things, presenting ourselves at the partners level. That's how we are dealing with the partners from the distance. So remote partnership is quite challenging one. Thank you.
Okay, great, Samaru, and congrats on keeping to the time. All right, so that's you. I invite you to look at the slides, to sort of load the slides on your own screen, so you can look at there's a lot of information in there. I struggled with how to edit it down. I'll give you my take on what's what I think is but this is what was shared. Now we have 5 minutes between Catherine and myself. So because we are a bit behind, I will abstain and would love to give that 5 minutes to Catherine.
Okay, thank you, Reda. So thank you for sharing your problem, and very good of you. We are also seeing here that there's quite a lot of challenge in the one challenge. We've got the challenge of creating a strategic partnership. You've got the challenge of most of the staff and partners not being aware of partnership principles. And then you've got IT and modern means of communication issues. So I'll try and address each one of them really quickly. In terms of strategic partnership, I mean, that often will happen at the strategic level. It's very difficult to try and make a partnership strategic or transformational if we're at the level of the partnership. And this will always have to come from the place of initiation. And if the place of initiation is not actually moving or wanting to change or wanting to address the issue, I would suggest that as partners, you have the ability to connect together and find a way of addressing the wider issues to do with senior management or the strategic oversight of the partnerships by commenting and having a unified voice amongst the partnerships to address some of the changes that you might want to have. So, for example, that takes me neatly to the partnership principles. So if most of the staff are not aware of the partnership principles, how many of your partners have got partnership principles in place? It might be that you're the only organization that has them in place. And would this be something that you're willing to share with other partners? If other partners have got their partnership principles, would it be an idea to share all of each other's partnership principles and see whether you could come to an understanding or development of agreed ones for this particular partnership? Because as we grow in our partnership skills and awareness, more and more organizations are going to have their own partnership principles. But each unique partnership will want to address or value different things. And it's important that we build the kind of ownership and value system within that partnership that really reflects what's important to each partner. Now, if the partnership principles are just on paper and you really want them to be acted upon, it often is possible that you can create an agreement within your own partnership on the things that you value, the ways in which you're going to communicate, the ways in which you're going to share, perhaps creating equity by sharing some of the power around your partnership, but also being realistic about what is possible within your organization and what is possible within your own partnership, and also what's possible as to what you can bring to the partnership. How courageous are you to suggest, and how able are you to suggest ways in which the partnership can change. So I don't want to finish without addressing the IT situation, because that is probably one of the most challenging ones, and ones that we realize we've got four different groups of people, in terms of generations. And so there are going to be people who are really behind in terms of being on top of the communication and IT. And so it's about, is there someone in the partnership that might be able to volunteer time to talk to the various members that are behind or really struggling to get on with the technology. So if people don't want to respond to an online form, is there someone that can help them, assist them, and walk them through how to do the online form? Failing that, is there a way that you could have a workshop, an online workshop, to look at all the various tools that could really excite the partnership? So could you show them, you know, a communication platform and talk them through it and walk them through it? Because often what happens is that these things are introduced and people get scared and they shut off. They're just not interested because they're actually petrified of getting online and not knowing how to do it. So finding champions that can really support each partner, or doing it as a group, or going from partnership to partnership and running one-to-one sessions to really help and support someone to get up there. Because we've all been there at one time or another, introduced to a new system, just like we are with Scholar. And with the help and the support, this is where we can actually change how we view the technology and actually see it as an enabler and bringing variety to our relationships rather than something to be afraid of. So I'll stop here.
Great, thank you, Kath. All right, Sumaru, back to you to respond to to share your thoughts after having listened to Catherine's initial response.
Yeah, actually, is a humanitarian organization, Oxfam itself, because we should have some strategic relationship also, though it's really difficult to establish transformational partnership or relationship between partners, because we capacitate partner NGOs or local NGOs, board members or staff members. We will provide them EMAT training. We will provide them first aid training, source rescue training, basic source rescue training. And after 1 year, when project finished, they left the organization. And again, when the project started, we need to develop their capacity. That's how we are doing repeatedly same things. If we develop strategic partnerships, then we can develop the capacity, and we can take their capacity as well. So there is the mutual understanding and mutual supporting mechanisms. Likewise, regarding online, their willingness for communications mechanisms to use communication mechanisms on IT equipment is very low, because most of the partners at the districts, they don't know how to use the online systems and other things. But sometimes we used to organize some workshops for reporting and other things, financial report and narrative reporting systems and others. But after sometimes, and they don't feel confident at the same time. And because another thing is we need resources as well for a capacity building plan. That's how we are facing the things. But what Catherine has suggested, I'm quite happy with her suggestion that making them familiar, if it is possible, organizing workshops or going partner-wise to support them on online communication, other things. But the most challenging things is strategic partnership, because as a humanitarian organizations, responsible persons for the country, for preparedness and capacity developments, I'm facing these sort of problems. That's why I'm raising this issue. And I think we need to organize lots of workshops and capacity building activities to make them familiar with IT equipments and response through online systems as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sumaru. All right, we've got some initial comments. So from Maria Isabel Navarro says, and I'm reading these because anybody who views the recording won't be able to see the chat messages. Local partners get oftentimes confused, especially when they are dealing with various NGOs that they are in partnership with. Each international NGO has different ways of working. And Gezaheg Kebede Gebrehena actually has a question for you, Sumaru. What are the key risks that you envisage in maintaining the partnership? So before we go to the, go ahead, if you'd like to answer that one.
Yeah, could you repeat the question again?
It's in the, you should be able to see it in the chat window at the bottom of the chat. What are the key risks that you envisage in maintaining the partnership?
Yeah, actually, because of these project-based partnerships, we are facing lots of problems because when the project is approved, then we try to search for the partners, and when the project is finished, our activities is finished, budget is finished, the partnership will finish, and that's how we are managing. And for the effective partnerships and partnership management, there are lots of challenges in the context like Nepal, in the country like Nepal. So because traveling to different parts of the country is really a risky job, frequent travels, and it's quite time consuming, and it's expensive as well to travel because we have to travel hilly area through we need to take your route sometimes, and sometimes we can go by the road. That's how, and in some districts we don't have a proper installation of communication mechanism and internet facility as well. So that's how we are facing. But in terms of Oxfam's strategy, strategic partnership, there is the provisions of preparing 4-5 national level partners as strategic ones are location wise. But this practice, in practice, it's really difficult unless we have a budget, proper budget, and people to orient and to guide the partners and partnership staffs and volunteers as well.
Okay, thank you, Sumaru. So I'm going to start the timer on possible solutions. I see several questions to you. I invite you to respond to them, or to sort of look at the questions that are coming up. I'm just starting the 5-minute timer. I just wanted to share an initial thought as we don't see. I think I'm not sure. When I looked at the case that you were kind enough to share with us, and thank you for doing it, for being amongst the first to do it. I really see sort of 3 things that are sort of unacknowledged. It's resources, leadership, and learning. It seems to me like there's a change process that's needed. How do you get people to sort of digitally transform how they work? And that's quite a big challenge in and of itself. And it's distinct from the project work itself. So until there's a sort of explicit acknowledgement that moving people along, sort of supporting them and sort of changing how they work is explicit, you're not going to have the resources that would be needed to support that change process. That was the first dimension. Second would be a leadership dimension. Are there, and Catherine spoke to this, are there champions, people who could sort of take the, who are into IT in their own personal lives, yes, who may not be at work, and how can you find them? Maybe it's going to come down to actually going to visit, paying sort of physical world visits to people, showing them why this is in their interest, how this can benefit them, how this can improve the autonomy that they have, rather than threaten, allow the INGOs to exert more control, whatever the issues may be there. And then the third might be that part of the incentive might be a learning one, so where you might be able to offer to some of these people IT training that would help them in their professional development, improve their CVs, improve their professional prospects, and also get them to sort of over that tipping point where they sort of open up to filling out an online form. So resources, leadership, and learning. Those are really my first thoughts. So to go back to what's going on in the chat. We have a comment from Patrick Abangi. Trust is one key aspect envisaged in maintaining partnerships. Shamnaz says, what change do you see by strategic partnership at Nepal for strengthening local humanitarian leadership? So I'm going to read these, and then Sumaru, we can go back to you. Jason says, do you include budget posts for partnering issues and applications? That speaks to the resource dimension. Are there any security issues connected to having such open remote partnering channels? Jeremiah says, since the partnership is project-based, would there be a possibility that the organization identifies a few that it would consider as key partners? This may save on funds and other resources like staff or capacity building as part of less quantity and higher quality. Also asks, Jason, what is the average age group of your staff and the staff of your partners' experience versus the youth? Emma Livingston Jones, if you could paint a picture, describe a vision of what you would like your partnership to be in, say, 6 months' time, what would it be? And then Lydia, is it possible to engage with the wider INGO stakeholders operating in Nepal to come up with a joint strategic partnership leadership development approach? As someone has pointed out, local NGOs are operating with different international ones. A common approach seems to be crucial to sustaining any change. So that's a lot of questions. Sumaru, back to you if you'd like to address at least some of the points. We have 9 minutes left in the session.
Yeah, in case of Nepal, when I joined with Oxfam, and before I worked with Red Cross, because Red Cross has years one wings at the grassroots levels as well, and they had lots of capacity building plan for district chapters, youth circles, and junior circles, and they have that sort of mechanisms. When I entered into the Oxfam, an NGO, humanitarian NGO, here I saw quite different perspectives of capacity buildings, and because most of the partnerships depends on project implementation, so they are based on the project implementations, and when the project is finished, the relationship is finished, partnership is finished. That's how we are dealing. And when I came to the Oxfams, I saw, I heard that some partners told me that we are the strategic partners of Oxfam. And I asked them the question at the same times, and how you are being the strategic partners? Do you have any documents? And is Oxfam working on your capacity buildings? And have you consulted when Oxfam is proposing some project to donors? And they said that, but we don't have that sort of communications. But Oxfam says we are their strategic partners, and we are also thinking that we are the strategic partners of Oxfam. That's how the relationship was developed and partnership was going on. And when I came to Oxfam, and then I tried to identify the strategic partners, but I received one document that was signed 5 or 6 years before with one national NGO as a strategic partners for capacity buildings. And that practice, I'm trying to cascade that practice to other NGOs, national and local NGOs. And I proposed to our CM, the senior management teams, about the strategic partnership and their capacity building plans. I prepared one proposals and submitted them. Then they try to source the resources, and actually for the capacity building plans, they don't have any money, and it was stopped. And later, now we are initiating to develop strategic partners in province-wise, because Nepal is transferring to the federalism now, and we have altogether 7 provinces. And if we develop the capacity and we establish the strategic partnership with national level partners, then they are not allowed to work in province level at some times. That's why we are planning to develop the capacity of our partners who are based in the province. And we are trying to select 7 partners from the province and develop their capacity. I'm just working on that things, how we can develop their capacity. Just we are on the assessing process. We are now just in the assessment process of these partners, and then afterwards we will develop our plan, 1 or 2 years plan for partnership capacity developments. And then when the proposals will be developed, at that time they will be consulted, and the information will be gathered from the community levels, and they will be involved in planning process. That's how we are planning in Nepal. But the practice is still dead. Is
Sumaru, we have
not
some
like
more.
that.
Sumaru, sorry to interrupt, but we only have 5 minutes left and we have more comments. Maria, so thanks for filling in, for continuing to sort of paint the picture. Maria says determining strategic partners can be quite subjective as it depends on each INGO's organizational capacity assessment or tools. I haven't seen any clear evaluation tools on partnership. And so I would like to suggest two things and actually Emma Livingston Jones made a suggestion or a question. If you could paint a picture, describe a vision of what you would like your partnership to be in, say, 6 months' time, what would it be? So I'm going to start the last 5-minute timer and ask you to kick us off on that. And then Catherine will have a closing comment before we sign off. So Sumaru, if you could describe, if you were able to sort of progress on these issues, what would your partnership look like 6 months from now?
Yeah, actually, I'm planning, I'm just assessing our partners' humanitarian capacity. I'm planning developing some formats to individual assessment format for humanitarian DRR program implementation to assess the DRR humanitarian program implementation capacity. And after finalizing this, I will send to all Oxfam staffs as well as partners, staffs and volunteers, board members actually. And after collecting these, we are planning to prepare one report based on these assessment informations data. Then we will develop a roadmap for 6-month capacity building plans and developing strategic relationship with the within this 6-month planning roadmap. I will try to plan how they can assess communication, social communication media, and how they can be familiar with them. And I'm planning to address humanitarian preparedness capacity building as well as communication orientation type of workshops or some trainings. I will planning to organize these trainings, and I will do this. And then after 6 months, when we visit or when we try to reach them and try to collect information from our partners, we can easily assess from the Kathmandu to the remote areas as well. And we could gather informations, and we can have Skype conference chat. We can have Facebook groups also between Oxfam and Oxfam's partners. That's how I'm seeing our partnership in coming 6 months. For this, I'm planning to develop some capacity building plan after assessing them. First, I need to assess their capacity, existing capacity, and I will prepare the roadmap for the 6 months, and how that can be changed will be seen within 6 months. That's how I'm planning to develop partnership within 6 months.
Okay, thank you, Sumaru. I'm just wondering if, and I've asked her in the chat in a private message, but maybe I'll just do a cold call to Emma. Emma, could you tell us how would you just could sort of visioning or painting a picture of what Sumaru you would want to see 6 months from now? How would that be helpful to him and to actually thinking through the problem solving around these specific issues? I'd love to hear from you about that if you're comfortable doing that.
By mic?
Yes, loud and clear.
Ah, cool. Hello. Sam, that's fantastic. The stuff you're saying sounds really wonderful. It sounded to me like you described a lot of the what, so you've got a clear vision of where you need to get to. I'd be really interested as part of the picture for you to talk about some of the how. So how you'll engage with the partners, how you'll get them on board, how can you make them want to engage with you, and also engage perhaps with some of the methods and technologies that you use. So more that side of it, the how as well as the what.
Okay, so we unfortunately are out of time, but I'm going to invite you to continue this discussion in Scholar, because this case, this challenge will be posted there as part of an update. And really, before we sign off, really want to hear Catherine's closing comment. Over to you, Catherine.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Simra, for for presenting your challenge and for allowing us to pile in with our ideas. And I think Emma's closing words around really looking at the how is really what all this course is about. And we hope that some of the things that we've actually dealt with today will even give you a glimpse of little things that you can try. So for example, the coffee trials are one kind of approach. The partnership challenge that we've presented here is a way that you can actually take the partnership challenge to your partners and actually get them to problem solve some of the issues that are going on in your own partnerships. Using the timers can help bring equity of voices to your table. So when you're running your meetings, let's say you're teasing out an idea or getting an idea bounced around with everyone, you give everyone 2 minutes and you use the timer. That will stop people from taking over the meetings. We know there's some people who will talk on and on and on. Before you know it, you have no time left. And then giving everyone a voice. So all of the things that we're doing during the webinars are things that you too can try. And so recognize that lots of things going on are things that you can turn into approaches for yourself. And just one last question. Maria was saying that there's nothing much on evaluating partnerships and indicators. If you go on the Collective Impact website, there are reams of stuff on indicators and how to measure partnerships. They even give you interview questions, tons of stuff on that. If you can't find it, come back to me and I'll help you locate the stuff. And so that's it from me. And just really thank you so much for all your contributions, your involvement, and actually just even being online. And good luck for next week.
Great, thank you, Catherine. I'm now going to do something terrible. I'm going to unmute everyone, and there's going to be all the noise from all of our offices. I've got a child in the background clamoring for his lunch. Let's see what happens. But this is what it means to be connected with people worldwide, and we get to do something that human beings typically do at the end of a meeting, is to say goodbye. So wishing you well, and every success in finding and following up on the tasks in the Scholar updates. And we'd love to hear your voices before we close this session.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's good.